sending this out all over the world. Thank you. Anyway, I'm excited about Easter. I asked to preach, and my message today, young and old can understand it. So you're going to get something great out of this, and we're going to go behind the scenes of the champion of heaven. Did you ever get to go behind the scenes in a movie or somewhere and they get to show you how they built the set, maybe at Universal Studios? It's really cool. It's like, oh, that's the car they used for Back to the Future? It's pretty neat, right? Well, I want to paint a picture for you right now and take you behind the scenes into Jesus' life leading up to his death. So here's Jesus, the champion of heaven. He's giving his followers a little talk right before he would die. Now, I want you to picture this. It's in John chapter 13, and they're sharing the Last Supper together. So Jesus sits down, he shows them the bread, the wine, and the cup, and says, this is my body now broken. This is the blood that will be poured out for you. And there's a few things that we know as we read the scripture in John 13. Verse 1, we know Jesus knew the time had come for him to die. So he says to them, he now showed the disciples the full extent of his love. Or in some translations, it says he loved them even to the end. But I like my Bible in the New Living Translation because it said, he now showed the disciples the full extent of his love because he knew he was about to die. The time had come for him to die, and he was showing them this love. There's something about dying that brings a sensitivity to people. When someone knows they're close to death, they're filled with this deep love for those that they love and those that are around them. Jesus was experiencing this. And if you've ever had someone that was about to die and you're talking to them, they're not talking about things that they have. You know, you hear people say you can't take a hearse or a U-Haul with you with all your stuff behind the hearse because you can't take it with you when you die. So Jesus is really feeling this, love. And it says he's showing them now the deep extent that he really has for them. In chapter 13, verse 3, we know Jesus knew God gave him all authority and he would return back to God. So knowing all this, he gets up and washes their feet. Superheroes don't wash the feet of peasants or people lower than them. That's not what happens. But he's not intimidated to serve. The champion of heaven has the Passover feast. Then he gets up, takes off his, jacket or whatever, and he gets down and starts washing their feet. This is their, hero. And you can read, Peter's like, whoa, you are not washing my feet. I'll let me wash yours. And Jesus said, I must wash your feet. Because there was a reason he did that. Verse 15, the champion of heaven, Jesus says, I've given you an example to follow now. Do as I have done to you. That is the path of blessing. This is a new way. They're like, wait a minute. He's washing my feet, and Jesus says, yes, I must do this to show you a new way. Lots going on. Okay, Jesus is at the Passover, telling him he's about to die. They kind of get it, but they're like, what's he talking about? He's our king, he's our hero. Then he's washing their feet. I'm just trying to give you the picture. There's a lot going on right before Jesus dies. In verse 18, we know Jesus knows the one who will betray him. They try to guess. Imagine the disciples, if you're with your friends, and it's like, are you kidding me? Who is it? They're all trying to they're all balled up because there's a lot going on. And they're like, wait, who's going to betray Jesus? Jesus even gives them hints, but they still don't know. He's like, Jesus, I love Jesus, because he doesn't tell them the whole thing. He doesn't just say Judas, he just goes, the one who will dip his bread in the bowl. And then so Judas does that, and they're still and then as soon as Judas eats the bread, the Bible says Satan had entered him and told him, go. And so Jesus looks and says, go, do what you're going to do it quick. And the Bible even says the disciples are thinking, is he supposed to go do something with the money back? Because Judas was the money holder. They still don't get it, But there was hidden. There's a reason. Jesus is given hidden things, but there's a reason. After he dies, they start to remember these things. In John 12, verse 16, just back a chapter, his disciples, it says, didn't realize at the time that riding in on the donkey when Jesus came in on the donkey and they said, Hosanna, was a fulfillment of prophecy. But after Jesus entered into his glory, they remembered that these scriptures had come true before their eyes. So see, there was a lot of things that happened, and I don't know about you, but if someone you ever loved passed away, sometimes you start remembering things they said, maybe like foretelling how they die, or you reflect, you remember, like, wow, oh my God, last week they just told me. You know what I mean? Like, you start reflecting. That's what that happened to the disciples. After Jesus died, they're like, oh my gosh, that's what he meant when he said the one who dips in the bowl. That's what he meant when he said this and that. So I'm painting this picture for you that the disciples, they're going through a lot right now. Judas now leaves to betray Jesus in verse 31, and Jesus continues on and tells his disciples, the time has come for me to be glorified. This was speaking of his death, that he would die, be buried, and resurrected. And this would soon bring glory to the Father. Why would a bloody death bring God glory? Isn't that kind of like, did you ever meet someone, and even people who are Christians and believe in Jesus, they don't understand the cross. They'll say, but why did he do that? I watched the Passion of the Christ and I cry. It makes me angry that those people were beating him up. And if I was there, I would have, punched them for punching Jesus. People have those emotions when they watch the Passion. But Jesus had a reason. There was a reason why he had to endure this death, because he would overcome sin. Your problem of sin, Jesus overcame it. Your addiction, your struggle that you can't shake, he dealt with it on the cross. That's why he did that. Something was never going to be done before. This champion of heaven was making history. This was the secret plan, this hidden gem, this mystery. No one was to get glory except the Father, who devised this plan to save the world. Even a villain or a superhero usually tells people of their plan to help them, to get people on their side, to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and they bring in the reinforcements. But Jesus didn't tell anyone. He told them in hidden mysteries, but they had no idea what's about to happen. Only the Father knew. In verse 33 now, Jesus is loving them. He's feeling like nostalgic. He's feeling like this, man, I'm about to die. He tells them he only has a little more time with them. Now listen, he was God. Jesus was God, but he was a human too. He was God, but he was human. His heart and human side was loving them. And in the Bible, my translation, it says, dear children, how brief these moments before I must go away and leave you. That's what Jesus says to them. He's like, I only have a little more time. He refers to them as children or little ones, because that's what a father would call his kids. You don't call, your adult children, in a sense, kids, or, they're adults now, right? But Jesus saw them as his children, because it was God the Father speaking to them. And he said, dear children, these moments are brief. And then this is where it gets good now. I'm painting this picture of Jesus setting it all up, telling his followers everything that's going to take place. He's hurting. His followers are in confusion. Judas goes and betrays him. And Jesus says, I only have a little more time with you. Now, when someone's on their deathbed, you're eating up their every word they're saying. You want to know what they're feeling and thinking, You're listening. So they're listening like, what the heck's about to happen? What is he talking about? Verse 34, so here, Jesus says to them, I only have a little more time, but I'm going to give you a new commandment. You want it? He says this, love each other just as I have loved you. Love that way. We know that new commandment, right? Up until then, they only had the 10 commandments, which was do not kill, do not do this, do not. Now Jesus says, guys, before I leave, I'm going to give you a new commandment. Love one another. He says in verse 35, your love for one another will prove to this world that you're my disciples. That takes care of us trying to prove God exists by our lengthy arguments. We need to start showing the love of Christ to others. Showing love takes action. Jesus took off the bib and put on the apron to serve. It was an action. He was showing them, love this way. Show them this way. Don't try to argue people into believing that you have the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. love them. Jesus is saying, don't try to argue. Live like this. Live in a servant's mode. And that love is going to make, after a while, it might take a year, 2, 5, 10, 15. What do you care? You're in love with Jesus. It's like me. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And along that way, people are going to come and know because of that love. So I don't know about your home growing up, but in my home, when my mom or dad were leaving to go somewhere, Jesus helped me. It was 21 questions of, well, where are you going? Well, when are you going to come back? Well, and it's like, God forbid they went on vacation for a week. Because it was like, who's going to be here? And this is awful. And it's like, if you do one thing, you get the threats, from mom. And, but no, I can remember Jason and Charles. They'd be like 8 or 9 years old, screaming bloody murder. Just as if my mom was going to ShopRite. And Michael, my oldest brother, would have to kind of hold them back and be like, she's coming right back, relax. Mom, please let me go with you. If I don't go with you, it's like, what is wrong with people? Talk about an attachment. But that's what kids do. Children do that to their parents. It's kind of, you get connected, especially if you're close with them. You're going to want to go. Where are they going? Whoa, whoa, whoa. So I love this. We're going to talk about 3 disciples. Pete, Tom, and Phil. Peter, Thomas, and Philip. Okay? And I love it. Peter starts this whole ball up. Watch this. Right after Jesus says this new command, behold, I give you. Here's the stinking champion of heaven giving this new command. He don't even care his feet were just washed by Jesus. He don't care about this new command. He blurts out, Lord, where are you going? Where are you going? Right after he says, here's a new command. Not, Lord, really? Well, tell us about this command. Where are you going, Lord? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Jesus says, Peter, you can't go with me now, but you will follow me later. Like, Mom, you guys, you can't go. We're going out alone to dinner. But Peter's like, where? What's going on? He says, then Peter blurts back in verse 37, but why can't I come now, Lord? I'm ready to die for you. He was so zealous. Here's Peter, like, I don't want to come. Jesus laughs, die for me. You're going to deny me 3 times before the rooster crows, because he knew what was going to happen. So then Jesus tries to shift their mind, and he says in chapter 14, verse 1, see, when you read your Bibles, you guys need to ask God before, Lord, help me understand these stories. Bring them to life in my mind. You're creative, God's given you a mind to be very creative. Don't pick up the Bible and say, oh, this is boring. I don't get it. You got to get in there. See who you relate to. Maybe some of you are like Peter, tough guy outside, but inside when it comes down to it, see ya. Maybe you're like Thomas, who's always doubting. I got to see it to believe it. That's kind of how I feel Nemo used to be. He's like, show me the facts, and I believe. It's like, but Thomas was like that. He's like, I'm not going to believe it. And then Jesus said, here, put your hand through the scar. But Jesus still loves them. Doesn't mean you're better or less than people, right? So Jesus says, don't let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe in me. Guys, relax. There's a troubling, this panic. The disciples are like, ah. Jesus then says, guys, you know where I'm going. You're going to know how to get there. And again, like a bunch of kids whose parents are going away, they panic. And Thomas yells out, we don't know where you're going. How do we know the way? And what does Jesus say? Thomas, I am the way. I am the truth. He's trying to tell him again. Again, here's Phil. Philip's panicking, and he's like, Lord, show us the Father, and then we'll be satisfied. Just let us see him. And Jesus says, Philip, after all this time I've been with you, you don't know who I am? If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Jesus was God, and he's telling him, Philip, guys, calm down. Even in our distress or times of uncertainty, he comforts us through his word, saying, fear not. 14, verse 1 says, fear not. Jesus saying, calm down, children. It's okay. I know what you're going through. I know, but relax. The champion of heaven, no world-made superhero has ever compared to him. It's the Father, who's a ghost. He's a spirit. God is a spirit. You can't see him. He's a spirit. So he had to give himself a body. He created Jesus. That was God in a body. He was God, but he was human. God planted himself in the womb of a virgin girl because Jesus Jesus wasn't born from a man and a woman having a baby. His father was God. It's the maker himself in a body. The plot is better than any story ever told. It is the best story ever told. It's a secret plan and no one knows. The whole world is awaiting this prophecy of a king they were told that would come. A Messiah, year after year. They're waiting, they're looking. The whole world. The wise men from afar go looking to the stars to tell them of the future when this king's going to come. Everyone's looking. When's he going to come? When's this mystery? The Hebrew people, God's children, were waiting for this warrior to ride in, a king on a white stallion with long hair, with an army of warriors as far as the eye could see that would come and set up a kingdom and slaughter their enemies. But then, an angel appears, only to a few select people, that the king has come. These people go see Jesus, and this king's not in a palace. Where is he? He's in a stable. He's born of a virgin. The champion of heaven doesn't ride in on a horse. He comes in on a donkey later. What is this? Everyone's so confused, but some of them believe, well, it is the Messiah because they see the miracles and they know nobody's ever healed the sick. Nobody's ever raised the dead. What is this? It has to be from God. But it was still a secret plan. What would Jesus do? How is he going to be the Messiah? The angels, and not even the devil, and all the demons know this secret plan and mystery, yet to be revealed, where Jesus, the Son of God, will die and resurrect. No one has ever come back from the dead. It's impossible. You're dead. No one's ever come back from the dead. We bury the dead. I mean, you might come back after 30 seconds or 2 minutes but I'm talking about you're dead 3 days. You're dead. You're gone. He's raising the dead. I mean, this is Scripture tells us if the devil knew Jesus would rise from the dead, he never would have crucified him. Why the heck would he? They would have left him alone. The devil wouldn't have had him crucified up on a hill. If he knew he was going to come back to life, that's the worst ever for a villain. It's dang it. Dang it indeed, devil. So he goes to the cross. He endures the death of a murderer and the worst criminal, beaten beyond recognition. He takes upon himself the sins of the world. The sicknesses of the world were taken out upon him. He's buried. He's put into a tomb. The followers of Christ are mourning their loss. The one they loved. It looked like a total defeat for them. Maybe your life looks like a total defeat. Maybe it looks like Satan has won. And even today, as you sit here and listen, Satan is in the phone booth talking to his little minion demons on how bound you still are and how you are still one of his captive trophies. He's talking and calling to check right now to make sure you who are also called to be a champion are still bound. He's like, do I got him still? Do I got her? Good. She's all messed up. He's all messed up. Living in sin. Yes. That's what he was doing to Jesus. Trust me. He was on the phone Friday night checking if Jesus was still dead. Is he dead still? Okay, we're good. He was checking Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. Because what happens when you panic, when you're unsure or afraid or you're up to no good? When you're up to no good, it's like, oh God. Whew. Everything's like it's like, chill, bro. I can't chill because I'm up to no good. And that's what the devil was doing. He was unsure. You're going to be tormented in your mind until you know that everything you plan is going exactly. What does Mr. Burns do? Yeah, excellent. Satan was making sure Jesus was dead and gone. I need a water break. La 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 la. You guys enjoying this? Yes. Devil's under my foot where he belongs. And he's under yours too, you just need to see it. Instead of walking around like stinking. Don't let me get off track, Mom.
Juice on ice.
Whew. His followers are mourning. They're hiding. They're champion. Like my mom said last Sunday, Jesus went from their superhero to a big zero. Because the one that they loved is now dead. And they're like, oh snap. news for you. On that third day, early that morning, the judge of heaven stood up. He declared the blood from the perfect Lamb, Jesus Christ, who never sinned, who had no spot of blemish of sin, was worthy enough to cover the sins of all mankind who had faith in the one he sent. And he said their debt is paid. That same Spirit of the living God that spoke the earth into formation and breathed life into the first man, Adam, who created every living and breathing thing that exists today, he went into the tomb where the dead body of Jesus lay and resurrected him back up to life. Nothing could stop it. No one knew what was about to happen. And I'm here to tell you today that nothing can stop God from what he's about to do in your life. Oh my God, you're all dead. Listen, he's going to resurrect you. No one even knows how he's going to do it, but it's going to be done. I didn't know how I was going to give my heart to Jesus at 20 years old, driving on Route 80. Didn't even know what was about to hit me. But when Jesus says enough is enough, it was over, baby. Yeah. The champion of heaven tells you today, do not let your heart be troubled. Fear not. Hell is fearing you. Satan fears your voice, your calling, your life. Why do you think he's tried to take you out, destroy your family, tried to send you the wrong relationships to thwart your destiny, knock you out of the race, put you in the grave naturally, spiritually? Trust me, he's in the phone booth, baby. Pacing the floor right now as I preach this to you, because if you would only stay where you're at in your faith, never go deeper, never dive in, he'll keep you busy, he'll keep you from your past, keep you in your past, in your shame, anything to keep you from understanding. You're forgiven because of Christ. You're a new creation. I believe, and now I am justified. Because Christ was our champion and overcame, we now can overcome sin. He's the champion. The gates and doors were barred and all the windows fastened down. I spent the night in sleeplessness and rose at every sound, half in hopeless sorrow and half in fear the day would find the soldiers breaking through to drag us all away. And just before the sunrise, I heard something at the wall. The gate began to rattle and a voice began to call. I hurried to the window, looked down into the street, expecting swords and torches and the sound of soldiers' feet. But there was no one there but Mary, so I went down and I let her in. John stood there beside me as she told me where she'd been. She said they moved him in the night and none of us know where. The stone's been rolled away and now his body isn't there. We both ran down to the garden and John ran on ahead. We found the stone an empty tomb, just the way that Mary said. But the winding sheet they wrapped him in was just an empty shell. And how or where they'd taken him was more than I could tell. Oh, something strange had happened there, just what I did not know. John believed a miracle, but I just turned to go. Circumstance and speculation couldn't lift me very high, 'cause I'd seen them crucify him, and then I saw him die. Back inside the house again, the guilt and anguish came, 'cause everything I promised him just added to my shame. When at last it came to choices, I denied I knew his name. And even if he was alive, it wouldn't be the same. But suddenly, the air was filled with a strange and sweet perfume. The light that came from everywhere drove shadows through the room. And Jesus stood before me with his arms held open wide. as I looked into his eyes. The love was shining out from him like sunlight from the skies. Guilt and my confusion disappeared in sweet release. And every fear I've ever had, it melted into peace. Hey! Woo! Jesus into your life and you feel like, I don't know this, you believe. Whosoever believes. There's no sinner's prayer in the Bible. I could do one. I know a million. Believe today. Don't you walk out of that door and say, I don't believe. I don't care what you've done. I don't care how ashamed you feel. That blood covers that shame. It covers you. It's over. Your past is over. Stop holding yourself in your past. Shake it off. Shake the dust off. And you walk out of here like a son and daughter of God. He loves you. He's called you. Nothing can stop it. You better dance. You better go love someone today. You better dust that Bible off. You're called to preach. You're called to preach. You are called to preach. I don't care where you work. I don't care where you go. You're called to live righteously. Wash feet. It means serve. Don't complain. Get it together. And when you pray with authority. Because Jesus said, death and hell and sin can't hold you down. They didn't hold me down. They won't hold you down. Don't allow sin to destroy your life and leave a legacy of disaster for your family. Break the curse. Run to Jesus. Dive in head first, and he will use you to do things you've never dreamed stinking possible. I love you. Happy Easter. Woo! And it's only 12:15, baby, so you got 5 more minutes to say hey to everybody. Thank you, guys. I love you all.
Thank you, Robin.
And I'm sending that out to the world, so.